National security, protecting our homeland. It's President Bush's priority. But Tom Daschle has supported policies that threaten our national defense. Daschle voted against building the B-2 bomber, against building the F-18 fighter jet, both used by our troops in the war on terror. Daschle even opposed a missile defense system to protect America. Tom Daschle, loyal to a national Democrat agenda at South Dakota's expense.
The National Republican Senatorial Committee is responsible for the content of this advertising.
It's National Carry Stand Month now at Abbey Carpet.
You get the carpet, the pad, the installation. It's all inclusive here at Abbey Carpet.
Carry Stand carpet is attractive, durable, and the selection is great. Right now, you can save up to 50% on area rugs and carpet, plus special financing.
6 months, no payments, no interest.
Don't miss it. National Carry Stand Month now at Abbey Carpet.
40th of Minnesota, Sioux Falls.
I'm John Thune, and I approve this message.
Senator Daschle may have represented South Dakota as much as he could. Ethanol, he talked a good game, but didn't come through. And as a farmer, that was frustrating. We needed 2 votes for closure. And he was out signing books. He wasn't, working his caucuses. And after the vote failed, then he blamed it on the Republicans. He can get all of his Democrats to pull together when it comes to stopping nominations for the judges. But on ethanol legislation, when we really needed it, he didn't come through.
Live from Keloland Television, Keloland News at 5.
Good evening. A new South Dakota election law went into place on January 1st that says if you apply for an absentee ballot application outside of an auditor's office, you either have to send a photocopy of your ID along with the application or have your signature notarized.
But that may not have been happening on a few South Dakota college campuses. So how will problem applications affect the upcoming election? Keloland's Amanda Spicer has done some checking today.
Well, Doug, the situation is complex. For example, if I go to a polling place and refuse to show an ID and won't sign an affidavit swearing I am who I say I am, I can't vote. That's the law. So how is it any different when a college student's absentee ballot application is improperly notarized? Many people may think the ballot wouldn't count because no one has proven the student's identity. But the Secretary of State says that's not the case. The law governing how you cast a ballot at your polling place is clear.
If you don't show identification or if you don't sign the affidavit, then you cannot get a ballot. And the law is very clear in how to handle that.
But the lines get a little murky when you're talking about possible fraudulent absentee ballot applications.
In this situation, we don't have specific statutes that were written to tell us what to do if a notary committed a crime. It's just not there. And so what do? We look at what the legal precedence is in other areas.
Right now, county auditors could be sending out hundreds of ballots to people whose identities weren't properly notarized.
They don't know, sitting in their office looking at a document that appears to have been done correctly, they don't know whether or not the notary has committed a crime or not. And so based on the document that's been presented to them, they've gone out and sent the ballot out as they're supposed to.
So if someone's identity hasn't been proven, how can their vote legally be counted?
If you go to the polling place, they're obviously going to turn you away. You can't vote without that.
Correct.
But in this case, the same thing is happening because these notarizations may or may not have been, correctly done.
Sure.
So how are these ballots valid?
Well, again, that's been the conclusion, the legal conclusion that the Attorney General, has reached as we've talked about it, unless somebody has evidence that the identities are not correct.
So you guys are kind of going off the fact that, okay, these students are who they say they are.
Well, that's, yes. And, I've not heard any allegation that they aren't.
And Nelson says until that happens, the votes will be considered valid, but he says the investigation is still unfolding.
Thank you, Amanda. Well, the applications may not have been properly notarized, but it looks like hundreds of absentee ballots will count. And if the race is close enough, those questionable votes could decide the election. Keloland's Anna Peters looks at the numbers.
In November 2002, 71% of registered South Dakota voters had their voices heard. And when all 340,000 ballots were counted, just 524 votes decided the Senate race. It was close enough that John Thune could have asked for a recount, but he didn't. This time, the outcome could be different. Our most recent Keloland TV Argus Leader poll put Senator Tom Daschle ahead of Thune by just 5%. And with 5% of voters still undecided and a 3.5% margin of error, we could have another close Senate race ahead of us.
South Dakota could have up to 492,000 registered voters in time for the election. And with a 75% turnout, up to 369,000 South Dakotans are expected to vote. The Secretary of State says that means we'd only need an 800 to 900 vote difference to have a recount.
And with the Republican Party calling 1,400 people who filled out absentee ballot applications on college campuses because they may not have been properly notarized, the ballots in question could decide the election. Anna Peters, Keloland News.
How's it going, guys?
The U.S. Justice Department wants some overseas voters to get extra time to cast their ballots. The Justice Department is suing 2 Pennsylvania election officials because the state failed to send out ballots in time because of a dispute over whether to include Ralph Nader. Federal election officials say the ballots should have gone out by September 19th so voters could return them on time.
Tonight, the eyes of the nation will be on Arizona, a rundown of what the candidates will be going over in this final presidential debate. But first, here's meteorologist Scot Mundt with a first look at our weather.
All right, well, thanks, Doug. We had a couple of wind advisories out earlier today, and all those have expired as this wind continues to die down as we make our way into the evening hours. We'll have a look at some of those wind speeds coming up. First off, we'll look with our Sioux Falls sky. Can still see that flag flapping in the breeze this late afternoon. We'll continue to do that as this wind will continue for the next couple of hours. Let's go ahead and show you our weather nets. Peak winds across southeastern Keloland into the upper 20s to lower 30-mile-per-hour range. Mitchell coming in with a north wind at 39 miles per hour as a peak wind gust earlier this afternoon. Another wind gusts across northeastern Keloland are into the 30s, and we had a northeast wind in Rapid City up to about 40 miles per hour. Keloland live Doppler radar. It is dry. We had a couple of sprinkles across south central South Dakota earlier this afternoon. This activity continues to push off toward the south and southeast. Nothing going on as of right now, and we have a lot of cloud cover out there as well, especially across southeastern Keloland, and those clouds are starting to go away, give way to a partly cloudy overnight. Let's go ahead and show you what's going on with some of the wind speeds as of 5 o'clock as they are out of the north and northwest. Still in the 20 mile per hour range, and a couple of those gusts getting into the low to mid 30s. Gust in Sioux Falls is about 32 miles per hour, 32 mile per hour wind gust in Brookings. And our temperatures are into the 40s and 50s. And thanks in part to these winds that will start to relax and these clear to partly cloudy skies, we'll see these numbers fall down into the 20s. Here's a quick look at that Keloland Live Doppler Future Scan forecast. Temperatures across eastern Keloland will be in the mid to upper 20s. Let's look for temperatures near 30 for central and western South Dakota. Sioux Falls top will fall down to about 28, 26 in Aberdeen, 32 tonight in Pierre, and 33 degrees for Rapid City. May have a couple of scattered rain showers for western South Dakota by tomorrow morning. Then a warm front will continue to move across western and central South Dakota, bring some cloud cover with it. So we'll start with some sunshine across the east, and then increasing cloud cover. Temperatures will be into the 50s to near 60 degrees for central and western South Dakota. We'll try to bring some of those light rain showers across eastern and southeastern Keloland late in the day tomorrow, probably towards sunset, maybe last during the overnight. Rainfall amounts tomorrow will be very, very light, maybe a 1/10 of an inch of rainfall. Cool temperatures will stick with us. We'll check the extended forecast coming up.
Will tempers be flaring in Tempe, Arizona tonight at the last presidential debate? Issues including taxes, jobs, and health insurance are expected to dominate the 90-minute face-off between President George Bush and John Kerry. You can watch the debate tonight at 8 Central Time right here on Keloland TV.
2 more American soldiers are dead in Iraq. That makes a total of 6 killed since last night. In the latest, a man plowed his car into a U.S. convoy in Mosul and detonated a bomb. 5 other Americans were wounded. Saddam Hussein has undergone a hernia operation. Iraqi doctors in Baghdad performed the surgery, which lasted about an hour. Saddam was then returned to his cell the same day. Army Private Lindy England, the woman in some of the infamous photos showing U.S. troops abusing Iraqi prisoners, has given birth to a baby boy. Another soldier implicated in the abuse scandal is the child's father. England faces court-martial in January on charges of abusing detainees and committing indecent acts. We have today's economic news, including some lucky lottery winners, next.
And then Native American entertainers bring their musical message to Washington High School.
And then Scott will return with a little more detailed look at your Keloland Live Doppler forecast.
Brand name drugs can be more than 3.5 times the cost of generic alternatives. That's a difference of $54 on average for each prescription. If all of us use generics more often, imagine the millions of dollars that would be saved. So ask your pharmacist about the full cost of your prescriptions. Find out if a government-approved generic will work for you. Together, we can bring the cost of healthcare within reach for all of us. To see how your decisions count, visit wellmark.com.
They're at it again. Negative ads distorting Stephanie Herseth's conservative record on taxes. The truth. Herseth bucked party leaders, voted to cut taxes for small business and make our sales tax deductible. But Larry Diedrich, he voted to increase taxes on gas, cell phone service, and new fees on hospitals. Diedrich even opposed rolling back the death tax. Stephanie Herseth, an independent voice for South Dakota. The Democratic Congressional Campaign Committee is responsible for the content of this message.
I'm a Ford truck man. It's the biggest event of the year.
It's Ford's Big Throwdown,
where you can save big on America's #1 selling SUVs.
You can't beat #1, brother.
Now get great throwdown savings on all Ford SUVs, including the best-selling Ford Explorer and the big and roomy Expedition. Get over $6,400 in total savings on Ford Explorer, or choose a total of $5,000 cash back on Ford Expedition.
Yeah, I drive a Ford. I wouldn't drive anything else.
It's Ford's Big Throwdown.
Ask the experts. See your Northland Ford dealer today.
Keloland Live Doppler, the 6-minute advantage, brought to you by Sioux Valley Direct Test and Keloland TV.
Well, let's find out about this Powerball business now. We understand that it has been won. Many of you will remember not so long ago that a group of 34 women in Watertown, not all women, but some men too, won the they were factory workers, and they split a Powerball jackpot worth $50 million. Well, now a printing company employees, 33 of them in Dover, Delaware, are sharing the same experience, and $215 million from Saturday's drawing. They'll each receive $2.2 million taxes. Sad part, though, guess what? No, 8 of their co-workers decided that they weren't going to take part in buying this ticket, so they're out of it.
So next time your coworker says, you want to get in?
Let's go in on it. Let's do. All right.
Well, it seems like just about every leaf is coming off the tree at a pretty fast rate, doesn't it, Scott?
Well, they're trying to, and for me, it looks like at the beginning of the day they were all in my front yard, but then these winds decided to pick up, and now they're on down the streets. And if you don't want to pick up these leaves, looks like Friday will be another windy one, so maybe it'll go even farther down the streets as we make our way into the weekend. Keloland Live Doppler radar. These winds will relax, by the way, as we make our way into the evening hours. We are mainly dry. As I mentioned a little bit earlier ago, we had a couple of sprinkles across south central South Dakota. You can see that as they continue to make their way through southeastern Cherry County, southern Brown County, that's Brown County in Nebraska, and also into central Rock County. These continue to push off toward the south into central Nebraska as we make our way into the evening hours. We are looking at a partly cloudy to mostly clear evening for a lot of folks, and that will continue into the overnight. That combined with our winds, which will relax, will allow temperatures to fall into the 20s across the east, so rather chilly morning expected for your Thursday, to about the near 30 degrees into central and western South Dakota. Wind speeds out of the north and northwest into the 20-mile-per-hour range, and occasional higher gusts from time to time. Notice that northwest wind in Sioux Falls at 23 miles per hour, 28 miles per hour in Watertown, 22 Aberdeen, 23 in Pierre, and a 25-mile-per-hour wind in Rapid City. The wind gusts are into the 20s and 30s. We have a 32-mile-per-hour wind gust in Sioux Falls, 37 in Watertown, 31-mile-per-hour wind gust in Huron, and these strong winds are expected to last for the next couple of hours. Temperatures across the west are near 50 degrees. We have 51 degrees in Rapid City, 50 in Ellsworth Air Force Base, 43 in Custer. And a warm front will move through western South Dakota. That will bring some cloud cover with it, but also try to bump our temperatures to near 60 degrees for western Keloland. Temperatures across the east are into the 40s. We have 46 in Brookings, 48 in Pipestone, 45 in Marshall. A little bit warmer in Sioux Falls, coming with a temperature of 52, 51 in Huron, and 48 degrees in Aberdeen. Satellite radar composite showing that we did have a lot of cloud cover earlier this afternoon, especially across the east and southeast. But as some drier air makes its way into Keloland, those clouds are on the decrease, and we'll also see those temperatures plummet into the 20s across the east. And we may even see some frost. Even though we do not have any frost advisories out, we did have that good frost and even a good hard freeze for a lot of people across the east. Since that already occurred, don't expect to see any frost advisories as we make our way into the rest of the fall. 7 o'clock this evening, partly cloudy skies, dry for everybody. As this continues into tonight at 10 o'clock, an increase in cloud cover across western South Dakota, remaining dry, but by the morning we may see a couple of scattered rain showers across the west. That front and the showers will continue into central and eastern Keloland as we go throughout the day on Thursday. Forecast for tonight, clear to partly cloudy. Temperatures will fall into the 20s to lower 30s, winds becoming light. And then for tomorrow, partly cloudy, temperatures still cool, lower 50s to near 60 into central and western South Dakota. And then for Friday, another Clipper-like system moves through. Northwest winds on the increase again to 20 to 35 miles per hour. Maybe a couple of lingering showers in the morning for eastern Keloland. Sunshine in the afternoon. Well, the 5-day forecast coming up a little bit later on.
All right, sounds good.
Okay,
thanks.
All right.
A gun scare at a Northwest Iowa school. A 15-year-old Everly teen faces 2 charges for bringing a loaded weapon into his high school. He was taken to the Clay County Jail and later transferred to a juvenile detention center in Cherokee. According to law enforcement, the boy was upset over tension between himself and other students.
In New Hampshire, a school board is banning a boy's photo from his high school yearbook because he posed with a gun. The senior photo shows Blake Douglas posing with a skeet shooting gun over his shoulder. His lawyer plans to file a complaint in U.S. District Court and says the National Rifle Association will pay for the case.
Sioux Falls students had Monday off for Native American Day, but Washington High School is making sure students get plenty of cultural education now that they're back in class. The Native American music group Brule performed for the entire student body today as part of Washington's Warrior Faces program, which promotes diversity and cultural harmony among students. Their contemporary music combines traditional Native American rhythms and dance.
The stock market went for an afternoon dip with the Dow barely closing over the 10,000 mark. Marcella Palmer has today's Market Watch.
Opening market gains gave way to a steep slide as crude oil prices rose from an early dip. Crude closed at $53.63 a barrel. Heating oil rallied to a fresh record, $1.49 a gallon. And weakness in the metal sector sent aluminum giant Alcoa stumbling. The Dow closed the day down 74, almost 75. And the Nasdaq held up pretty well on earnings news from Intel and Yahoo. The Nasdaq closed down 4. It's a marriage between 2 big beer makers. Coors and Molson have gotten the go-ahead by Canadian officials who found the merger does not violate the country's Competition Act. The combination would create the Molson Coors Brewing Company and become the world's 5th largest brewing company by volume with $6 billion in annual revenue. Best Buy announces plans to change the focus of 68 California stores. They'll hone in on 5 segments like small business owners. For more on the market, log on to our site at cbs.marketwatch.com. In New York, I'm Marcella Palmer.
And for all the latest market news, just log on to our website, Keloland.com.
Just when you thought you'd seen it all, there comes another. And another. America's hottest products are at your Chrysler dealer. Like PT Cruiser, 32 seating configurations and 121 cubic feet of space help make it more versatile than any car. Get 0% APR financing for a total savings of up to $6,100 on 04 PT Cruiser. America's hottest products are at your Chrysler dealer.
I'm Larry Diedrich, and I've approved this message.
Stephanie Herseth lives a double life. In South Dakota, she tells us she's moderate, independent. She promised us she would make federal funds for the Black Hills a priority, but given the choice, she chose to vote for funding for the National Endowment for the Arts over additional fire protection for national forests. Dollars that could have been spent fighting forest fires in the Black Hills. Stephanie Herseth. In South Dakota, she tells us what we want to hear. In Washington, she votes the party line.
This surgeon is now more precise. He can see 10 times better and can achieve greater patient outcomes than ever before. Introducing robotic-assisted surgery, available only at Sioux Valley. Through this remarkable technology, a surgeon uses a 3D camera and his own hands to guide the tiny arms of a robot through incisions the width of a fingernail to perform complex surgeries with amazing precision. For the patient, it reduces pain and scarring, the risk of complications, and recovery time. Robotic-assisted surgery, bringing top surgeons and advanced technology together. The wonders of medicine. At today's Sioux Valley, a better system of care.
Your health is important. That's why Health Beat at 5 is brought to you by Sioux Valley Hospitals and Health System.
Young kids are one of the high-risk groups that the Centers for Disease Control says should be in line for a flu shot this year. But as Jane Andrews shows you in this evening's Health Beat, in view of the shortage of shots, protecting your child against influenza may be more difficult than convincing them to face the needle.
Doug, back in August, the CDC issued a new recommendation for this year's flu season, namely that all children 6 months to 23 months old get a flu shot. Now, that was before the country's supply of flu vaccine was cut in half. And while it might be easier to remove the recommendation for this year, they're not doing that. Here's why.
It can make a huge difference, however, if a healthy person gets a vaccine and a small child who's at risk doesn't.
It's apparently information more parents need to know. Recent studies have shown that children under the age of 2, even the healthy ones, are more likely than older kids to wind up in the hospital if they get the flu. In some cases, they even die.
They're more likely to suffer severe effects from influenza than a healthy adult, and I just don't think it's worth the risk.
Yet during the 2002-2003 flu season, only about 4% of children in the high-risk category were vaccinated against the virus. In Nevada and Mississippi, the number was less than 1%. The 25 states in red were all below the national average. Those in green, including all of Keloland, were above average in protecting its children against the flu. But finding a shot for any child won't be easy this year, and it now appears finding Flu Mist, the nasal spray vaccine, which has been approved for kids over the age of 5, won't be easy either. Orders from Keloland clinics are being held back until health officials get a better idea of just how bad the shot shortage is.
Now, yesterday on Health Beat, we told you Flu Mist is also an option for both kids and adults who aren't high risk but still want to protect themselves from the flu. While those shipments have been postponed, you should also know that the CDC says healthy people don't need to worry about being protected against the virus until mid-November.
Okay, thanks, Jane. In other health-related news, it's a look at how doctors hope to keep track of your personal medical information in the future. The FDA is in the process of approving a computer chip that can be implanted in patients. Now, this chip, about the size of a grain of rice, can store critical medical data, including information on allergies and past procedures.
Mount St. Helens continues to build a new lava dome inside its crater. Pictures taken this morning show glowing hot rock inside the volcano. Earthquake activity remains low, but did increase slightly overnight. Mount St. Helens came back to life September 23rd with a series of small tremors and a few minor eruptions of steam and ash. A wildfire continues to burn in Northern California. One has already scorched 30,000 acres in wine country, Napa and Yolo counties. Those fighting the fire don't expect to have it contained until this weekend. And to make matters worse, officials think the fire was intentionally set.
In some of this year's election races, let the chips fall where they may.
It's a cookie bake-off between the presidential candidates' wives. Laura Bush and Teresa Heinz Kerry let their culinary skills do the talking.
Prices are falling at Inwood Furniture, and they've been falling for 2 weeks, but folks, it's coming to an end. Nobody can sell at these prices forever. Inwood Furniture has the lowest prices around on Lazy Boy, on Berkline, on all of the quality brands. The sale is coming to an end. Folks, get in your car, get in your truck, come on down to Inwood, Iowa. The savings are in Inwood 7 days a week, but this sale is ending. There's no reason to pay more. The savings are now at Inwood Furniture.
I'm Stephanie Herseth, and I approve this message.
He never stops.
Larry Diedrich is attacking Stephanie Herseth again, and he's still not telling the truth. In Congress, Stephanie Herseth voted to increase funding for forest firefighters by $231 million. And Stephanie Herseth supported the Bush administration on forest policy to protect South Dakota forests. Larry Diedrich, still attacking Stephanie Herseth, still not telling the truth.
If you have a news tip or if you see news happening, call 1-800-888-KELO. Keloland TV, your home for news.
There are 5 steps to building market leaders. We should know. We take them every day. Lawrence and Schiller, building market leaders for over 3 decades.
I learned my values growing up in Aberdeen. Values like telling the truth, to believe in my country, my faith, and to dream but work more than you dream. I learned them as an altar boy, hunting with my dad and in the Air Force. They are South Dakota values, and they're part of me. They're part of my children, and I want my grandchildren to have them too. I'm Tom Daschle, and I approve of this message.
This is Schoenemann's Yesterday. This is Schoenemann's Today. Yesterday, today. Schoenemann's Yesterday, Schoenemann's Today. A lot has changed since 1888, but Schoenemann's first-class service is still the same. Whether you're a do-it-yourselfer or an experienced contractor, you can always do it right with Schoenemann's.
You can always do it right with Schoenemann's.
While the candidates for president prepare for the debate tonight, their wives had a race of their own. The popular women's magazine Family Circle published cookie recipes submitted by Laura Bush and Teresa Hines Carey. Bush's chocolate chunk oatmeal took on Carey's pumpkin spice. Family Circle asked their readers which one they liked better, and 67% of the readers preferred Mrs. Bush's cookies. But this wasn't the First Lady Cookie Bake-Off. Family Circle started it back when Hillary Clinton met up with Barbara Bush.
A trip to the pumpkin patch is helping some kids to pay for a church mission trip. Southern Hills United Methodist Church brought in 800 pumpkins from an Indian reservation in New Mexico. They're going fast. The youth group sold $650 worth just yesterday.
We're looking at going to Winnipeg on a mission trip this summer, so that's the next thing. And we're also looking at a ski trip out to Red Lodge, Montana sometime in March.
The pumpkins sell for 50 cents up to $18 depending on the size. The patch is located at 49th and Southeastern in Sioux Falls.
Those are some nice looking pumpkins.
Yes, indeed.
All right. It's definitely fall, definitely time to carve some pumpkins, grab an extra blanket.
Oh, yes. Here's our weather guy, Jack O'Lantern. I'm sorry.
Scot Mundt.
There you go.
View it that way, I guess I sound more Irish than anything else. Let's jump right into things. Start things with our Rapid City Sky Cam. Those clouds have left western South Dakota, but they'll be on the increase again during the overnight, and those winds are